Hello? Right. Our next speaker is a former Lynbrook student who studied statistics at UC Berkeley. Instead of following the set path and going on to graduate school, he pursued further education in his own unique way. So please give a warm welcome to Shan.
All right, is this on? Can everyone hear me? Okay, perfect. So hey everyone, I'm Carl, and like I was introduced, I'm actually a former Lynbrook alum. I graduated from Lynbrook at the class of 2010, and I'm really excited and I'm really humbled to be able to be back here and to be able to share a little bit about my journey since then. So after I graduated from high school, I did not take a gap year, although actually, to be honest, I really wish I did. Instead, I went straight to a four-year university. I went to go major in statistics over at UC Berkeley, and after finishing college, I went to go work in San Francisco for a software company, and later I went to do research in Chicago under my field of specialty, which was statistics. And so I was really excited when I was working in Chicago as a researcher, and when I was thinking about what I really wanted to do with my life, I came to the conclusion at some point about a year ago that, you know what, I'm going to apply for graduate school. And so, like the young man in this comic here, I was really planning for a life where I was going to choose between studying hard and graduating versus really having and enjoying my life. And in January 2015, I was very fortunate to be notified that I had gotten accepted to a great program to study at a technical university on the East Coast in a graduate program in artificial intelligence. And I was really excited, and I quickly accepted my offer. But a few weeks later, when I was thinking about that decision to both apply to graduate school, but also to accept the decision to go to graduate school, I really tried to introspect and figure out why did I do that? What motivated me to do that? And the deeper I tried to understand myself and my reasons, the actually less satisfied I was with why I chose to go to graduate school. I didn't go to graduate school because I thought it was aligned with my goals or my interests or my values or my identity. I went to graduate school. I made that decision because of one emotion: fear. I was really afraid that I didn't have the skills or the knowledge or the credentials like those working with me did to be able to succeed in the things that I wanted to do. To be clear, when I was in Chicago, I worked with many people who had PhDs in things like mathematics and artificial intelligence and computer science. Compared to them, my resume just didn't stack up. And so I felt very insecure, which led me to a mad scramble to take my GREs, submit my application to go to graduate school, and eventually accept that offer. But having come to this realization, it became clear to me that this wasn't the life that I wanted. I didn't want to be a person who built a habit out of making big life decisions because I was afraid. I wanted to make my life decisions because I thought they were aligned with my interests or my goals or my values or my identity. And so when I came to understand this about myself, with the support of many friends and my family, I called the admissions office at this university and told them that I wasn't going to be showing up on campus in the fall to get my degree. And so an open question came up, of course, then. What next? Well, after finishing my research fellowship in Chicago and leaving my job, I moved back to the Bay Area. And when I was back here, I got in touch with two of my friends. And I learned that both of them were actually taking time off from work to essentially take a gap year, essentially use their savings to learn, to self-craft a curriculum for themselves, to learn about the things that really excited and interested them. And they were a very rigorous approach to doing this. They were reading books, they were traveling to places, they were interviewing people, and they were writing their own research reflections. That really gave me some inspiration. In fact, it reminded me of some things that I had learned about a few years ago. And that's something called the Open Source Data Science Masters. This is a program that I heard about a few years ago. It started by a young woman named Claire Cordell. I had met her, and she had told me her story, which was after finishing college, she wanted to go work as a designer. But after a few years of working at her company, she really felt dissatisfied with her career. She realized that she wanted to work in a field called data science, which is a field that involves computer science and mathematics and statistics. The problem was, she didn't have a background in any of those things. And so she realized that she wouldn't be able to stack up against other applicants for those jobs. So she was really worried. But instead of buckling down and instead of quitting and continuing with her career that she didn't enjoy, or going back to a traditional school to get another credential in the field, she made the decision to actually essentially make up her own graduate school. That became the open source Data Science Masters. She created a list of online courses that she's going to take, books she was going to read, and projects she was going to do to learn the skills to equip her to actually be able to work effectively as a data scientist. And when her story came out on the internet, it actually became very famous, and she became incredibly well regarded within both the data science community, but in the world at large, for having the courage and the creativity to make an opportunity for herself where one didn't exist. And her story really inspired me, and as I was coming back to the Bay Area and hearing about my friends, it got me thinking, why can't I do this? And I decided that, you know what, if someone else can make this curriculum work for them and get numerous job offers because of their independence, why can't I do something similar? The only question is, what would I focus my open source masters on? And to answer that question, I had to go back to an earlier part of my life when I was a freshman in college. So this is a photo of a school next to the college I went to. This is Washington Elementary School in Berkeley, California. And when I was a freshman at university, I had the opportunity to be part of a student group that every single week would go down to Washington Elementary and serve as mentors to the young students there, to the fifth graders there. We would be big brothers or big sisters and lead these students in games, activities, in small tutoring groups, and to really encourage them to pursue education. I remember the first day I arrived at Washington Elementary was one of the most shocking days of my life, because many of the students that I met there, who I had conversation with throughout that semester, learned more about, came from backgrounds very different from my own. About half of the students who go to Washington Elementary are on free or reduced lunch, which is a proxy measurement for the socioeconomic status that their family is in. And realizing that they had very different educational and life opportunities that they did made me very frustrated, because it made me think, why should your educational opportunities and life trajectory be arbitrarily determined by the zip code you're born into? That seems incredibly unfair, that because I happen to have parents who are able to move here, I can go to a great school like Lynbrook, but some students who simply were born in the wrong situation don't have the same opportunities as I did. And neither of us really deserve our difference in opportunity. It's not like I'm just a better person, so I should be able to go to great schools and they're not. That didn't make any sense to me. And so one day, after volunteering at this school, a question popped into my head. What should I do about this? And my train of thought ran, well, there's this inequality in the world. Some people are given more by virtue of how they're born, the opportunities that they want through the birth lottery, and some people are given less. It seems to make sense to me that those to whom more is given should also have the responsibility to do something with what they're given, to do something about this disparity. And then that led me to thinking, well, if I really wanted to work on issues of inequality so that everyone has an equal opportunity to pursue a fulfilling life, how would I even do that? How could I solve such a big, pressing problem that so many people in society have thought about at wartime? Well, as I was thinking about this, I came to realize that there's in fact an entire social institution that our government has set up in this world, whose sole founding purpose is to provide opportunities and close the inequality gap. And that system is the education system. This is a quote by Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers, and one of the early Americans to argue that the United States should set up a system of public education so that everybody has the chance to learn and to excel. And so when this came to me, when these realizations came to me when I was a freshman, it seemed to make sense to me that if I wanted to really work on issues around inequality, I should work improving the system whose sole purpose was to provide people opportunity and reduce inequality. And so I continued working in education at college. I worked at educational nonprofits or companies every single summer. And even after I graduated, when I went to go work in San Francisco, I worked at an education software company. When I went to go to Chicago, I did research in the data and statistics around education. And so with all of this in mind, I decided that this master's program that I was going to do was going to be in the field of education. It was a place where I knew I wanted to deepen my knowledge and further my own career. My two friends who had inspired me to go down this train of thought decided to join me because this was also a pressing social issue that they were also interested in. And so we decided to create our master's in education. This is a picture of a very early draft on my notepad of the things I wrote down that I wanted to learn, and the books that I wanted to read, and my criteria for how I would organize and think about those books. My friends and I came up with our own curriculum. We came up with a list of topics we wanted to do, wanted to learn about. We came up with a list of projects we wanted to do. And we even got an office in Palo Alto where we would be able to work together and meet up and talk and read and debate. And essentially created our own graduate school. My friends and I tried to take our program as seriously as possible. In fact, this past fall, just a few months ago, my friends and I traveled to 4 different countries. And we visited elementary and high school in those countries. We talked with principals and teachers and parents and students so that we could learn what works and what doesn't work in international education systems and hopefully take some of those learnings back to America. And so now, unlike before, it's much more clear to me what's next for my friends and I. Right now, we're applying for a grant to launch our own high school based off of the ideas that we've learned. We are writing a personal thesis for ourselves and using our learnings to shape how we're going to pursue our careers and our lives for the next few years. And I think that my path in choosing not to go to an actual credentialed formal institution and instead creating my own graduate school has pretty significantly shaped my thinking in my life. It's given me the feeling of freedom from having to take the right or the traditional path that everyone around me urged me to take. I no longer feel like my decisions and my actions are driven by fear. It's much more clear to me that I'm choosing to do the things I am in my life because they're aligned with how I feel in terms of my identity, what my values are, and what my goals are. And so ultimately, what are maybe some of the lessons here? Well, the first thing I do want to point out is I don't think that what I did is necessarily right for everybody. In fact, it's almost certainly not right if you're the type of person who needs structure and if faced with complete freedom on your own, would procrastinate or feel anxiety or not be able to use that time effectively. But at the very minimum, one lesson that I learned for myself is to make sure that whenever I make my next big life decision, to better understand why I'm doing it and if I'm comfortable with those reasons. And if I'm not comfortable with those reasons, to really ask myself, what are the things that I could do to align my choices with my values, my interests, my identity, or my goals? To be comfortable making those decisions, even if they're not always the safe, traditional, conventional, and comfortable.